Hi, I'm Gabriel, and this is Learning English Path. And in this lesson, I'm going to teach you the hero's journey, part 5, crossing the threshold. Crossing the threshold is the next step in the hero's journey. And, we've been looking at the hero's journey and learning English with the hero's journey from all the way at the beginning, before the call to adventure, when the hero is in the ordinary world. And now we're on to part 5 of the hero's journey, which is crossing the threshold. And we will learn some English language, some idioms this time, about this particular stage, about new beginnings and starting a new adventure. Okay? Exciting stuff. So if you do like this lesson, please give it a like so that more English learners can find this lesson. And please subscribe if you have not already, because, you get so much more than just an English class when you watch these videos. I try my best to empower you to learn so much new English for yourself in new ways that other English teachers would not give you. Okay, so do subscribe, share it with a friend, okay? And leave a comment, okay? Leave a comment, because when you practice your English with a comment under this video, then I hope that more people can then respond to that English, and we can get a conversation going, an English conversation in the comments section, right? Okay, so try that out. Now, before we go on to learn about new beginnings, let's review the last lesson, okay, very quickly. So I've got 4 questions for you about part 4 of the hero's journey, which was supernatural aid. Okay, so question 1. Which superpower enables you to move things with your mind? Pause the video and go back to the last video, part 4, if you haven't watched that already. Which superpower enables you to move things with your mind? Okay, the answer is telekinesis. Okay. And question 2, which superpower means that you know all the languages? Okay, the answer is omnilingualism. Okay, that's a big one, omnilingualism. All right, next, which kind of mentor can give you all the information you need? Okay, what kind of mentor knows everything about a certain subject? Okay, the answer? The Encyclopedia. Okay, the Encyclopedia. And the last question, question 4, which kind of mentor asks you questions so that you can find the answers within yourself? Okay, the answer is the coach. All right, so if you haven't seen the last episode, part 4, which is called Supernatural Aid, do go back and have a watch of that. All right, next one. So the hero has now accepted the call. Okay, remember before the hero refused the call. Now the hero has met the mentor, and maybe the mentor is supernatural in some way, but they don't have to be. But they've met the mentor and now they are inspired to accept the call and go on the hero's journey. So this is called crossing the threshold. Now, when you cross a threshold, that means that you walk from one world into another, okay? It doesn't have to be world. It can be you are crossing the line, okay? There's a boundary. So do you remember a couple of episodes ago, we talked about the average Joe and the average Jane. And what do, right? They're sitting in a classroom and they hear English, okay? They hear the English language in another classroom. And so crossing the threshold in this circumstance would be when Joe walks in to the other classroom. Okay, that would be crossing the threshold in this situation. Joe actually accepts the call, and when his foot crosses into that next classroom, when he makes that first step, that is crossing the threshold. All right? So, this stage is also represented usually by a guardian, someone who guards the threshold, right? So maybe in this case with Joe, maybe there is another teacher who is trying to stop Joe from going into the English class, right? Maybe the other teacher says, no, you must stay in this class. You're not ready to learn English yet. You must stay here. Right? So Joe must find a way to get around this teacher, okay? And maybe sneak into the classroom, okay? So I do want you to know that often the threshold is guarded by a threshold guardian. Okay, now this could be anyone. This could be in a story, it could be a monster. Okay, it could be a bodyguard. It could be anyone. And we will have, after we finish the Hero's Journey series, we will have a few episodes on the different kinds of people involved on the Hero's Journey as well. And the Guardian, the Threshold Guardian, is one of those kinds of characters. Okay? So, let's go to the idioms. We have how many? 8. Yep, we have 8 idioms in this lesson. So the first one is nothing ventured, nothing gained. Okay, nothing ventured, nothing gained. This means that if you don't take the risk, if you don't cross that threshold, if you don't go into a journey, if you don't go on an adventure, right? Think about that word. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? If you don't try this adventure, then you won't gain anything. So you must risk something. You must try. You must at least try. Or if you don't try, you won't get anything. Maybe you won't try, you won't get anything anyway. Maybe you will venture into the unknown, and maybe you still won't gain anything. But at least you tried, and you know now that that's not the right adventure for you, right? So this idiom is saying, take a risk, okay? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So at least try, because you never know. You might gain something, right? Okay, the next one. To blaze a trail. I like this one. To blaze a trail, right? So if you are a trailblazer, then this means you are someone who is a leader, and usually some kind of creative leader. So you are leading others into something that has never been done before. Okay? So you could say maybe Steve Jobs, right? The person who co-founded Apple. He was a trailblazer in that he did things before anyone else did them quite often, right? And he was a leader in doing so. Okay? And there are many other people like that. And you can be a trailblazer in any area. So to blaze a trail, that is the verbal expression, really, of being someone who leads others in an innovative and creative way, right? Okay, next one. To move mountains. If you move mountains, right? Can you move a mountain? Right, this is an idiom, an expression that means to go out of your way to put a lot of effort into something in order to achieve something that seems impossible, right? So if something seems impossible, right? So maybe Joe and Jane think, well, that language they're speaking, I could never learn that, right? I could never speak English and actually have an English conversation with someone. That's impossible for me. Then a few years later, once they study and once they practice and have conversations and make lots of mistakes and they go on the hero's journey and they have that adventure, then the impossible, what they thought was impossible, now they look back and they see that they have achieved it. And so what they did was they moved mountains, okay? So remember, all of these expressions and idioms, they're all about once you begin your adventure, okay? Maybe the feelings that you get, or the ideas that you might have, or the vision that they might have. Maybe Joe is thinking to himself, I'm going to move mountains by learning English, right? The next one. To pave the way for... Okay, so if you pave the way for something or for someone else, then this means that you have created the possibility by showing others how something is done, right? So for example, I used this analogy in the past where I said your learning English path starts in the middle of a forest, right? Well, if someone starts in the middle and walks a long way, right? They have maybe left many footprints, right? They have left very clear signs of which way they went. And this has cleared a path so that other people can see, oh, look, that's where Joe went. So let's follow that path. So in that sense, maybe Joe has paved the way for others to follow him, right? So it doesn't have to be physical. It can also be like if Joe went to the English classroom and somehow he snuck in and got away from his teacher, Maybe he paved the way for Jane to do the same, because now Jane can see how Joe did it, and Jane can repeat that same process. So he paved the way for her, you see? Okay, the next one is to start with a clean slate. To start with a clean slate. This means that you forget about the past and you start fresh. Okay, so a slate is a stone that sometimes has writing on it or drawing on it, right? And what this means is that you start with a new clean stone, okay? As an example. So you don't have to try to work around all of the markings that were left on the previous stone. You start with a clean slate. So you can start again. So if someone is starting with a clean slate, then maybe they all of their mistakes are forgotten and they can begin their whole life again, but with the knowledge that they already know, of course, right? And it's often associated with a very good feeling, a very positive feeling of freedom, because you are free to start your life again, right? And there's a very similar one. This next one is very similar. To turn over a new leaf. To turn over a new leaf. So this means, again, to stop doing things that were bad in the past. Maybe stop doing something that was harmful to yourself, or stop doing something that was harmful to others, and start again. Turn over a new leaf. Okay, so you imagine a leaf, and there are many leaves on the ground, right? And it's been raining. So all of the sides of the leaves that you can see on the ground, they're all kind of wet and dirty, right? But if you turn it over, no rain has affected that side of the leaf. So it looks beautiful still. It looks fresh, right? That leaf. So you turn over a new leaf. And so you feel fresh and you feel clean and vibrant and ready to go, right? The next one, a breath of fresh air. So if something is a breath of fresh air, it means that it's a nice change. Okay, so maybe there's someone who's been stuck in the same old town for 30 years, right? And then finally they get a chance to go into another town, or maybe to go to a city, or maybe even another country, right? And for them, this is a breath of fresh air, right? Everything's new, and there's a big change in the environment that they were living in before. So they feel like the air is new. It's all fresh, right? Everything's fresh. So you can use this when someone starts the hero's journey too. Maybe for Joe, when he goes into the other classroom, he sees that, oh, that teacher's actually pretty nice. And maybe the students in this classroom are nicer or more intelligent or more helpful, right? Or maybe the lesson is better. Maybe he really likes learning English, but he didn't like learning that other thing from the other teacher, right? So it's a breath of fresh air. Okay, the next one, the last one. And this is actually a quote it's attributed to Lao Tse, right? The Chinese philosopher who wrote the Tao Te Ching. Okay, and this quote is, "A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step." Very appropriate. So that means that there's something, if you want to do something big and you keep saying, oh, it's so big, such a big thing to do, right? Maybe learning a new language. It's like, well, that's a whole new language. It's going to take me years to learn, right? I'm too intimidated to do that. Well, in this quote, what Lao Tse is saying is, such a big thing, you say that one day you're going to do it. Well, it starts with just one little step. Okay? You have to start somewhere. You have to start your journey. You have to start your adventure. You have to start walking your path, right? So a journey of 1,000 miles seems such a long way, right? And you think, oh, I've got to get on this. I've got to go walk 1,000 miles now, right? So where am I going to start? Well, you start with one single step, okay? And keep going. Then take another step, then another step, then another step. And yes, it'll be a long time before you get there, but you're never going to get there unless you make that first step. Okay? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Keep learning, my friend, and keep going.